My son stood up at my 70th birthday and announced I was senile, just so he could sell my home. He laughed at my boyfriend, Henry, calling him a broke loser in a cheap jacket. He thought he was untouchable. He thought he had won. But he didn't know that the bum sitting next to me actually owned the company my son worked for. And with one phone call, my son didn't just lose his inheritance, he lost everything. Welcome to my channel. This is the story of how my son learned the hard way that you never judge a book by its cover. Subscribe if you love instant karma. My name is Eleanor. I've been a dressmaker my entire adult life. I don't have a lot of cash in the bank, but I have assets. I own a Victorian cottage on 4 acres of land. I bought it in the 70s for pennies. Today, developers circle it like sharks, because it's the last large plot in a very trendy neighborhood. My studio is in the back, a converted carriage house filled with bolts of silk, lace, and velvet. It's my sanctuary. It's where I hemmed thousands of skirts to pay for Julian's private school. It's where I fixed his first suit for his first job interview. Julian is 38 now. He's a senior VP of acquisitions for a luxury retail conglomerate called Vanguard Lifestyle. He's successful, handsome, and utterly ashamed of me. He hates that I still have pins in my lapel. He hates that I drive a station wagon. He hates that my house is cluttered with fabrics, instead of looking like a sterile magazine cover. And then, there's his wife, Trisha. Trisha is the kind of woman who smiles with her teeth, but never her eyes. She treats me like a child. "Oh, Eleanor," she'd say, patting my hand, "are you sure you want to wear that? It looks a bit homemade." "It is homemade, Trisha," I'd reply. "It's French silk. Chanel uses the same supplier." Hey, tolerated me because they knew the land was their inheritance, but they absolutely loathed Henry. I met Henry 18 months ago. At the botanical gardens, I was sketching flowers. He was reading philosophy. We started talking about roses. Henry was comfortable. That's the best word for him. He wore a tweed jacket with leather patches on the elbows that had clearly seen better days. He drove an old sedan that squeaked. He lived in a small apartment downtown. We loved the simple things: diners, old movies. To Julian and Trisha, Henry was a disaster. "Mom, seriously." Julian hissed at me one Thanksgiving. "He's wearing a sweater with a hole in the cuff. He's a leech. He sees a lonely old woman with valuable property, and he's settling in for a payday." "He's kind, Julian," I said firmly. "He listens to me. And he buys his own pie. He's a nobody, Mom. You're embarrassing yourself, and you're risking my inheritance." That was the first time he said it out loud. His inheritance, not my home, his future money. For my 70th birthday, Trisha insisted on hosting. "We'll do a high tea in your garden, Eleanor," she chirped. "It'll be elegant. Julian is inviting some of the board members from Vanguard. It's a great opportunity for him to show off the estate." I agreed, thinking maybe they wanted to do something nice for me. But the preparation was a nightmare. Trisha hired a crew to stage my house. They moved my comfortable armchairs into the garage and replaced them with stiff, modern rental furniture. Worst of all, they tried to lock my sewing studio. "We'll just keep this door shut," Trisha said. "It smells like old lady work in here. Dust and mothballs." "That is the smell of hard work, Trisha," I snapped. "And that lace is worth more than your handbag." She rolled her eyes. "Just keep the door closed, Eleanor. Julian's boss is coming. We need everything to look premium." I should have canceled it then, but I wanted to be a good mother. I wanted Julian to be proud. The day of the party was sunny. The garden looked beautiful, despite Trisha's sterile decorations. There were about 100 people there. Maybe 10 were my friends. The rest, Julian's colleagues, men in sharp suits, and women who looked like they were afraid to eat a scone. I sat at the head table. I had made my own dress, a dusty rose crepe with hand-embroidered lilies. It took me 40 hours. I felt beautiful in it. Henry sat next to me. He held my hand under the table. "You look like a queen," he whispered. I feel like a show pony, I whispered back. Then, the music stopped. Julian tapped a spoon against a crystal glass. Everyone, please, Julian announced, flashing his $1 million corporate smile. Let's honor the birthday girl, my mother, Eleanor. There was polite applause. 70 years, Julian said, his voice dropping to sound serious. It's a milestone, but, as we all know, age brings challenges. He looked at me with a pitying expression that made my skin crawl. We've all seen the signs lately. The forgetfulness, the confusion, the way she gets overwhelmed by simple tasks, like managing this massive property. I sat up straighter. Confusion. I managed the accounts for my business down to the penny. It's heartbreaking for a son, Julian continued, wiping a fake tear. But Trisha and I have stepped up. We've made the hard choice. For Mom's own safety, we are moving her into the Sunset Gardens Memory Care Unit. Starting next week, my friends gasped. Sunset Gardens was a hospice facility. No, I said, standing up. Julian, what are you talking about? And Trisha grabbed the mic, smiling brightly. Because the upkeep of this drafty old house is just too much for her. We've accepted a cash offer from a commercial developer. This land will be the new site of a Vanguard retail center. It's going to be a legacy. You sold my house. I choked out. I never signed anything. Oh, Mom. Sit down, Julian snapped, dropping the act. We have power of attorney. Dr. Evans signed the competency waiver last week. You know, when you went in for your tiredness. I had gone to the doctor for a checkup because I was tired from sewing. They used that. It's done, Mom, Julian said coldly. And frankly, it's for the best. Especially since you've attracted tensically unwanted attention. He pointed directly at Henry. We're protecting you from him. The whole party turned to look at Henry, who was sipping his tea calmly. We all know what this is, Julian sneered. He's a broke retiree looking for a nurse with a purse. Look at him. He's wearing a jacket from the Goodwill. He's a gold digger, Mom. But the gold is gone. It's in my trust now. So, buddy, he said to Henry, you can take your bus pass and hit the road. I felt tears streaming down my face. Julian, stop it. This is Henry. He's a good man. He's a bum, Mom. And you're too senile to see it. I was sobbing, but Henry just sighed. He set his teacup down. Clink, he stood up. He didn't look like a gentle old man anymore. He stood with the posture of a general. Julian, Henry said. His voice wasn't loud, but it carried across the garden instantly. Sit down, Gramps, Julian laughed. Security is on the way. You work for Vanguard Lifestyle, correct? Henry asked. I'm the VP of Acquisitions. Julian puffed out his chest. I'm the one who approved the purchase of this land. I see, Henry said. And do you know who owns the parent company of Vanguard? The Pegasus Group? Julian rolled his eyes. Of course. It's owned by the H.A. Blackwood Trust. Mr. Blackwood is a recluse. Nobody has seen him since the 90s. That's true, Henry said. He stepped back. Because he hated the sycophants. He wanted to see if he could live a life where people loved him for his jokes, not his net worth. Henry reached into his patched pocket and pulled out a phone. He dialed a number on speaker. Connect me to the board of directors. Override code. Blackwood 01. The color drained from Julian's face so fast, he looked like a ghost. Trisha dropped her purse. Yes, this is Henry Arthur Blackwood. Henry said into the phone. I am currently at a garden party at 42 Oak Lane. I need you to terminate the employment of Julian Miller, VP of Acquisitions. Mr. Blackwood. A voice crackled over the speaker. The Julian Miller who is leading the Somerville project. The same, Henry said, locking eyes with my son. He has engaged in elder abuse, fraud regarding a competency hearing, and conduct unbecoming of a Vanguard executive. He is attempting to force a sale of a property that the owner does not wish to sell. Cancel the purchase immediately and freeze his severance. I believe he's been using company expense accounts to pay for. What is it, Julian? That boat you bought last month? Julian fell to his knees. literally, to his knees in the grass. No, wait, Mr. Blackwood, you're Henry. I am, Henry said coldly. You called me a bum, Julian. You mocked my jacket. This jacket is vintage Savile Row, 1965. It has patches because I cherish things that last. Unlike you, who seems to discard anything old, including your own mother, the moment it becomes inconvenient. I didn't know, Julian pleaded. I thought you were just. You thought I was poor, Henry finished. And that made it okay to treat me like garbage. That tells me everything I need to know about your character. Henry turned to Trisha, who was trying to sneak away. And you, Henry said. I love Eleanor, Trisha stammered. You called her sewing room smelly, Henry said. My mother was a seamstress. I built my fashion empire on the back of women like Eleanor. You aren't fit to hold her pincushion. Henry turned to me. The anger vanished. He looked like my sweet Henry again. Eleanor, he said softly, I'm sorry for the deception. I didn't want you to feel pressured by who I was. I looked at him. You own everything I do. He smiled. But I still really like your apple pie better than anything my personal chef makes. I started to laugh. It was a hysterical, relieved laugh. Get out, I said to Julian. Mom, please, I'm fired. I'll lose the house, the boat. Get out of my garden, I said, pointing a finger calloused from thousands of needle pricks. You underestimated me. You thought I was a weak old woman, but I made you, Julian. And I can unmake you. The security Julian had hired escorted him out. That evening, Henry and I sat in my sewing room. He opened a bottle of wine. So, I said, what happens now? Well, Henry said, I was thinking, you've always wanted to see Paris, the fashion district. I'm 70, Henry. Perfect age to start living, he said. We didn't sell my house. We hired a caretaker. The fallout for Julian was absolute, because he was fired for cause. He got nothing. Trisha left him within a month. She moved back in with her parents. Julian had to sell his luxury condo and his boat to pay back the company expenses he had embezzled. Henry and I went to Paris. We went to Milan. I touched fabrics I had only dreamed of. Henry introduced me to designers who treated me like a master. I even designed a small collection for one of Henry's brands, the Eleanor line. It sold out in 3 days. But I didn't forget my son. I'm a mother. I can't turn that off. A year later, I got a letter. Julian was working at a department store. Not as an executive, but on the floor. In the menswear section. Measuring suits. Mom, the letter said. My hands hurt. My feet hurt. Customers are rude to me all day. They treat me like I'm invisible. And every time it happens, I think of you. I think of how you sewed for 12 hours a day. To buy me soccer cleats, I think of how I treated you. I'm sorry, I don't expect you to reply. I just wanted you to know that I'm learning. I was in Tokyo when I read it. I cried. Henry put his arm around me. He's growing up, Elle, finally, he is, I said. I didn't bail him out. I didn't send him money. I sent him a package. Inside was a high-quality measuring tape, and a pair of my best fabric shears. And a note, measure twice, cut once, work hard. I'm proud of you for trying. It's been 3 years. Julian is a manager at that store now. He comes for tea on Sundays. He leaves his phone in the car. He asks me about my sewing. He treats Henry with respect. Not because Henry is rich, but because Henry makes me happy. My son tried to sell me out because he thought I was past my prime. He thought I was just a confused old woman playing with dolls. He didn't realize that a woman who can construct a 3-piece suit from scratch knows exactly how to spot a loose thread and how to cut eye. Don't ever let anyone tell you that you're too old or too confused just because they want what you have. And never judge a man by the patches on his jacket. He might just own the building you're standing in. Thank you for listening to my story. If you loved this, please like and subscribe. And tell me in the comments, what's the best "don't judge a book by its cover" moment you've ever seen? See you next time.